Ever wish you had someone to talk to anytime, anywhere, no matter what you're going through? Meet PsychPal, your 24/7 AI companion designed to help you process your thoughts, calm your mind, and keep you moving forward. Chat anytime during a panic attack, on a restless night, or just when you need to vent. Prefer talking instead of typing? Try voice journaling. PsychPal listens, transcribes, and truly understands. You can even upload screenshots of tough conversations and it'll help you unpack how they made you feel. PsychPal keeps life organized too. It can add appointments to your calendar, track your mood, and even summarize your sessions for your therapist so you'll never lose progress. Plus, built in crisis resources are always just one click away. It's a privacy first, constantly evolving, made to complement your professional care, not replace it. Ready to try it out? Head over to the link in this episode and use my code Pete at checkout to get 20% off your first month subscription to PsychPal. PsychPal, because your mind deserves a companion too.
That's all you want last time. I don't want to be normal, you know I will not die. You can try no more, so you can kill my time. All the times that I'm sober, still got my pedal through the metal. Told you I'll be a mogul, that's all you want last time. I don't want to be normal, so you can stay inside. That's why they say that you're local, you see this world is mine. I'm not leaving you hope for them time. I'm taking mode, I'm loading, I will show them one more. So that's how you one last time. I don't know what's so hard, can you get it through your mind?
Welcome to another exciting episode of Pete for Anxiety. My guest today is a former attorney turned high performance psychedelic coach who teaches women how to use psychedelics as tools for focus, emotional regulations, sustainable success. Please welcome in the one, the only Julie. Is it Savon? Is that how you say your last name?
Savone.
Okay, well, close enough. Anyways, Julie, thank you so much for being here. Julie actually comes in from our good friend Melissa from Emotionally Unavailable, so we're so excited to have you here today. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Excited to have this conversation with you today. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I did used to be an attorney, right? I lived a very typical life or what was expected of me. I think that was sort of the problem. I grew up, I wouldn't say like in a chaotic household, but the things that happened as a child were chaotic. I lost my dad at a really young age, and my brother was nonverbal. He's on the spectrum. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I lost my dad. I don't know if my brother had said his first words at that point or not, but my mom's dealing with, that diagnosis and trying to get him the help that he needed. And so everything kind of felt like in flux. And it felt like the way that I received praise was by being like the one basically that you could count on. So my
Yeah.
mom never had to like be at my butt trying to get me to do my homework or I did what was expected of me, and what was expected of me was to do well at school. So I did. And I did so well at school that I became a lawyer and I practiced for 3 years. But what always was missing for me was a sense of honestly what was important to me. And I didn't know what was important to me. Like no one had asked me those types of questions like what do you value? How do you want to live your life? It was very much assumed that, I would take on the values or desires of my family unit. And I think that's where most people go wrong. And everyone, I believe, has their own unique desire and value. And it might line up with how you grew up, it might not. But until you give yourself the permission to live that out, you're going to feel some sense of anxiety, disquietude. I don't think anxiety is bad. I actually always think anxiety is a signal that something, it's almost like, uh,
So it sounds like a superpower, really, almost like essentially mine is like that too. Like mine will start going off. My heart, I could be dead asleep, and I tell you right now, I wake up, my heart starts racing. There's just something going on I need to be a part of, or something's happening, and lo and behold, it's usually the correct thing, or something is going to happen that it's trying to tell me, forewarn me. All right, listen, man, something's about to happen. Stay alert. So like then when it hits you, and you're like, oh. Okay, it makes sense, and it could be the most random things. The other day, it was a group of friends were having a mental health conversation on TikTok, and like, this is what I'm striving for right here for y'all to have these kind of conversations. So I was like, I was dead asleep. I woke up. I kid you not. My heart was racing. I'm like, okay, something's going on. So I went to do my usual thing, check all my notices, make sure nobody's trying to reach out to me. And I just wandered into this one room where everybody was having a conversation. And lo and behold, they're all having they're talking about mental health. The minute I walk in the room, and I'm like, dude, this is really awesome because this is what I'm pushing for at this point.
Isn't that cool how you noticed it and it became something that like you interpreted it, right? The anxiety itself is never the issue. Yes, it can be uncomfortable, certainly. Like a panic attack can be
Mhm.
extremely uncomfortable, but it's the story we tell ourselves around the anxiety that ultimately causes us the unhappiness. Where your story is like, something's happening. I get to figure out what this is that I'm supposed to be a part of versus like, everyone hates me or like, this is it. I'm going out this way. And so it's so interesting. Like it is a signal, but it doesn't have to be bad.
Yeah, no, I agree. And a lot of times it's also helpful that my girlfriend is very understanding. So, like, we have an open conversation. So, like, I could tell her anything, like the most wildest thoughts my anxiety has come up with, and she'll sit there and she'll actually listen to it, read it, and go, "Okay, makes sense. All right." And I'm like, "It sounds stupid." And she'll like, "No, it doesn't sound stupid. It's just what your thoughts are in your head." So that's helpful too. But at the same time, it's like I use it as an alert system. Like if my anxiety starts kicking up, it's usually telling me that something is going to happen, or I can anticipate that I'm feeling something is going on. And I'm like, okay, so what is going on that's causing it to trigger so bad? And it's the racing heart for me. It's just like I start racing and I'm like, I can't sleep sometimes. And I'm just like, I'm woke out of the dead of sleep that something's going wrong. And it's like now I'm on a hunt to figure out what it is. So I mean it's I don't let it really affect me too much, honestly, but I use it more as a superpower than anything. Because like I said, it always keeps me on high alert of anything around me. So it's like something coming up, I'm always ready for it, and things like that too.
Yeah, and it's so great that you know your signals and you know what that is in your body. I think that can be overwhelming too, especially when we're new to anxiety of understanding
Hmm.
like, okay, what is this? Like for me, it was this like feeling of buzzing, like almost like I was fully like turned on, like too much so that I couldn't do anything else. Like I was so swallowed by this like almost like the blood pumping. And once I kind of got more in tune with that, now I can start to sense like know when something is making me feel that way a lot sooner. Like before I'd have to get to like a 10 out of 10 in that feeling
Hmm.
where I could recognize like, oh, this is what's happening. But now when things start to feel a little funky, I can like even if it's subtle, I can acknowledge it and use it as a guidance as a tool.
Yeah. So explain us the path of how you went attorney to where you're at now, because psychedelic coach is way far from where attorney is, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. So, I was just really unhappy as an attorney, and I thought that maybe it was a practice area thing. So I did. I went to a few different practice areas, and ultimately, it was just like it's the nature of being an attorney that wasn't for me. It's a very protracted process for anyone who's like had to deal with the legal system. They know that it's not like, oh yeah, tomorrow I have a remedy. And ultimately, what left me feeling disappointed was that when people enter the legal process, you're never going to feel 100% about it. That's just kind of guaranteed. Like no party is going to leave feeling like, ah, yes, this complete victory because even if you get the monetary settlement or something you want, you definitely lost something in order to be entitled to it. And there's the time, the money, the effort, the energy that you spend in the legal process trying to get to that result. And I just was so disillusioned by the whole thing. And so I started getting really into personal development because I had done therapy and I was like, man, this therapy thing is not for me. I'm so
Hmm.
tired of talking about my dad dying and how my mom messed me up. I'm like, yeah, Deborah, I know this. Like, this is why I'm here. Not some enlightening news that you have for me. And it felt very much like focused on the past. Like, let's your dad dying one more time. It's like, no, it happened. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I want to move forward. And so I didn't like therapy. I didn't like medication. I had been prescribed, and it did help. Like I think I needed it at the time because I was at a very like low state, but it ended up really blunting things for me all around. Like, yes, I wasn't as sad, but I wasn't as happy either. And so I found personal development and I really fell in love with it. I was like, wow, okay, this is action oriented, it's future focused. It's like acknowledging the past, but not perseverating in it. I was obsessed. And so I decided to get certified as a coach. And I did that. And I was coaching for about a year when someone introduced me to the concept of microdosing. And for me, I had worked a lot on my anxiety and I felt a lot better, but there was still this like a scab that, like, isn't quite healed. I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I feel like I could get there. I just don't know if any of the tools that I've learned so far are what's gonna get me there. I'm going to see what microdosing can do for me." And so when I got into it, it was purely, like, selfish. It was for myself. It wasn't like, "I'm gonna make this my business."
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because you're looking for a cure without the drugs. Because the drug side effects are just ridiculous these days. If you sit there and watch these commercials, like me and someone else were talking about this, like one commercial follows the other. Like this one will cure these problems. Okay, well, this one takes care of the side effects of that one, but has all new side effects. And it's like, hey, wait, I'm taking antidepressants, making me hear voices I shouldn't be. I'm having suicidal thoughts. I'm like, wait, aren't these all supposed to be solving these problems? I'm like, yeah. And I've tried anxiety meds. I can't do them. They were just horrible. Like one of them I was taking, my heart was racing, and I'm like, I'm standing there completely still. It's like I thought I was gonna have a heart attack, literally, because it just kept going. And my ex was trying to tell me, "Oh, don't read the side effects." I'm like, "Yeah, read the side effects, because it literally says right there." if your heart is racing, go to the hospital. I'm like, what do you mean? Don't read the side effects. It says right there, hey, listen, if you experience the following, you need to seek medical attention. So I'm like, I'm at work looking at this going like, something's not right here. So I was looking up the drug and I was looking at the side effects and I'm like, oh, well, I probably should go to the hospital now. So I had to call my boss and tell her. And my ex is like, what did you go to the hospital for? Because it says right there, if you're experiencing these problems, go. And she was never big into the medical system. And I just I think it has its place, but I feel like these medications are just they're just wild, dude. The side effects are just ridiculously disgusting. It's just like there's so many better things out there for you. Microdosing is so much better of an idea. Even CBDs are doing really great things these days for people, and everybody's against them. And it's like because we're not going through big farm to get them, and it's like too bad. I don't like the side effects I'm getting. Like half these medications, like there's one I take now that says I'm not supposed to be in sunlight for long exposure at times. I'm like, okay, well that's great. Like I'll just be a mole man then. I guess that's what you want me to do. I don't understand. Like it's just I don't know what they're putting in these things, and it scares me. But microdosing has always been an interesting thing. We've discovered a few people that have done it, and we've heard other great things about it. So, I mean, I love the fact that you're doing it because, like, taking people away from those drugs because a lot of those stuff, the side effects are just disgustingly horrible.
Yeah, I have a friend who was taking and I can't remember exactly what the medication was, but it was medication for eczema, which like
Hmm.
is a skin condition. You think like, "Oh, okay, like how bad could this be, right?" But it caused his corneas to fail. So he's had to have both of his corneas replaced. And like that's just so extreme. Like he had to have his eyes replaced as a result of an eczema skin
That's what
medication.
I'm saying. Like what the hell, man? Like I'm putting this cream on to help me, and then you're just like, well, by the way, your corneas might get screwed over in the end of this thing. Like how, man? Like I'm treating the skin rash, and you're telling me this is gonna fuck my. This is what I'm saying. Like that's what I'm talking about. The side effects are like, what are you putting in these things that are causing these kind of problems? It's crazy.
Well, yeah, it's a compound, right? And that's what I love so much about microdosing is, and particularly like what I work with, I only work with capsules. So
Hmm.
it's just purely dried mushrooms. Sometimes there's
Yeah.
functional mushrooms in there, right? So we think like reishi, cordyceps, lines, Maine turkey tail, etc. But it is exactly that, right? It's like, yes, it's different than the mushroom that you eat on a pizza because it has an active compound in it, psilocybin, but it's not any different in like in the effects it'll have in your body. So of course, like if you're allergic to mushrooms, you can't microdose, right? Like that's microdose psilocybin. That's like that makes sense, but it's not. There's nothing else in there, and that's also why I don't work with gummies. I don't work with chocolates. And part of it is like in third party independent testing, they've seen that some of those products that aren't like pure mushrooms, they actually don't contain any psilocybin at all when they're tested. And then it's more crap that you put in your body. I'm kind of a purist. I just want the mushroom.
Actual ingredients that are real stuff, you find out you probably feel a whole lot better than what you do after that shit because you don't know what they're putting in these things, especially with your drugs. And with what you're doing is you're essentially just that's it. You're getting exactly what I'm giving you. These are the mushrooms you're gonna have in this capsule. That's all, nothing else. Have you thought about doing your own version of chocolate? So I mean, because you can control what you're putting in these things.
Honestly, people ask me this all the time. I have no interest in a product-based business. It's just not for me, and I think well, actually, like, in the journey of entrepreneurship, one skill, and honestly, this is probably true for life, that I've really had to develop that I think has been a game changer for me is, like, being very strong in my
Hmm.
own yes or no, because people are gonna should all over you. "You should do this. Have you tried that? Sha la 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 la," and I know what I like, and I know what I
Yeah.
know. I'm very rooted in it. And honestly, that was the way too when I was, like, treating my anxiety. "Oh, well, you should try this therapist." That's how I got into therapy. This woman was like, "Oh, you should go to my therapist. She's great." Or like, "Oh, yeah, you should try Prozac." And some of these suggestions, like, I have tried them and I like them. For instance, I really like breath work. Someone told me I should try that. I did it.
Earthwork's phenomenal.
But most people, like, they don't develop their own inner guidance. So they just take on all these suggestions without ever learning, like, what is their yes. And I'm very firm in my yes, and I can feel it almost instantly, or my no. And that has been a game changer for me.
Yeah, you 100% can tell that, like, if you're gonna ask you something, Julie's gonna just shut you down. Like, yeah, I don't think so. Try again, Charlie. Not this way. Hit the road, Jack. I mean, I get it though because you're standing strong with what you want to do. And the thing with people giving advice about everything, God, I just fucking hate that. Like, I understand people want to help you, but like, for the love of God, do a little research before you start giving advice because some of the things they tell you is just I just don't know where they're getting this information from. Like what was this guy that I seen? He was telling people if they're depressed to go back to when they were 18 years old. I'm like, dude, what if I was 18 years old and I hated myself? Like, do you really think that's a happy place I want to go back to? Like, you know what I mean? Things like that, it just makes me worry what people suggest things because then your next question is, where the hell did you get that from? They're like, oh, well, the internet told me. Okay, so what part of the internet did you go to for this? Because, like, you really got to start digging into these things because you don't know all the misinformation out there and all these crazy things people are saying. And then they're constantly telling you things and you're just like, yeah, I don't think so. That's great. Listen. And you got to like just smile and nod. And it's like, I really don't care what people say either. Honestly, I'm the same way. It's like, they want to give me advice on how to do something. It's like, hey, listen, you want to trade places? You can. You want to run this show? Go ahead. Like everybody wants to tell you how to do something until they have to go and do it themselves. And then it's like, well, never mind, forget it. They realize how much work you're putting into these things. And then they're like, well, I can't handle that. I'm good. So, well, then stop giving me advice.
Misinformation is certainly like a huge issue that we're facing in the age of the internet, and just a barrage of information that is not actually a fact. It's just
Hmm.
something someone said, and things being presented as facts and people not really doing the research. And I also think what most people peddle is a one size fits all solution. So, like, for instance, I really like cold plunging and that works really well for me, but I don't believe it's for everyone. I don't believe microdosing is for everyone. I mean, I can scientifically point to certain groups who should not microdose because of different effects it'll have
Hmm.
on their brain, like contraindications and potential for aberrations. But that's people want something, just like, tell me what to do. And my whole thing, my whole process and my work is, I'm going to help you discover what your process is, because my process is not your process. 75 days hard is not for me, but some people are like, you have to do 75 days hard. And I think that's really the issue, is people get into this mindset of like, I know what you should do because it worked for me and therefore it will work for you. And that's like a false equivalence. That is not true at all. Everybody is different. Every person has experienced a different life and had different traumas and different things that have impacted them. And so I'm all about a customization and a bespoke process. And I think in today's world, we're just fed a one size fits all solution that really doesn't end up fitting anyone.
No, because we live in the we want it now society. So I love what you're doing though, is that you're catering it to people. You're like, hey, listen, I'm going to help you discover this. Like, and I love the fact you point out that not everything works for everybody. And I think that's a really strong point to make is that, not everything's for everybody. Not everything will work for everybody. Everybody's not going to have the same responses. It's just like when you meet other people, other mental health conditions, like take BPD, for instance. Like I've met 5 different guests with BPD and every single one has a different story to how it feels to them, and it's just how it goes. So you make a fantastic point there because you're like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I could, but I'm not going to. I'm going to let you discover that on your own. And it's empowering people because they have to put in the work, which we all know with a lot of therapy that when people leave there, they're like, okay, I'm going to do it. A lot of times they don't put in the work and then they come back and they're back to the vicious cycle because nobody's making sure they're doing it. You, on the other hand, are like, hey, listen, we're going to do this, but we're going to do this the way this is how this is going to work. I'm going to guide you. You're going to figure this out. I'm going to be here for you. That way they have to put the work in and they can't be like, oh, well, Julie told me to do this. No, no, no. Listen. You decided this, not Julie. Remember that now.
Well, that's just the thing, right? People, this is not a commentary on anyone's choice. If you have
Exactly.
taken a GLP-1 and like that works for you, that's amazing. My fear with GLP-1s is that it does remove food noise for you. So you do eat less. And of course it's physical and mechanical too, right? There's like your stomach evacuates more slowly. And so you're fuller longer. That's great. I hope that it helps people. What I fear though is that it's not a lifetime solution of medication. And if you're not dealing with the deeper emotional issue around food, because for a lot of people it is more emotional. It's like the food noise is there because it's filling some sort of need. Then when
Hmm.
you get off of it, you're just going to gain the weight back because you haven't created sustainable habits and really done the deeper emotional work around food. And people like, my food isn't emotional. Maybe if you are overeating, like your food is emotional, like no shade, but like, let's just be honest. And so people come to microdosing and people are just like, oh, I want to microdose all the time. And like, I don't have to do anything else. And I tell people, like, microdosing is not an Advil. If you have a headache, you take an Advil, your headache goes away. That's great. Microdosing, you might have a really good day on your on day, but if you're not pairing it with tools of integration, if you're not doing that deeper work, it's not going to change your life. And I'm not who wants to like become a crutch. I just had this person who wanted to hire me for a retreat and have me come in and just like facilitate the journey. And so she's kind of trying to haggle with me about the price, right? She's like, well, some people do it for this. And I'm like, yeah, those people do, but they just take you through a journey and then they leave, right? That's it. I'm all about the integration. The integration is what makes me different and sets me apart. I want to make sure you take what happens in the journey, take those practical insights and apply them to your life. And that is what's actually going to change your life. It's not taking the microdose capsule, it's figuring out how to pull the thread and take the magic of an on day into your everyday normal.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. I think it's great though. I think that's a really good strong point too, is that you're like, I'm doing it this way. That's great. Everybody else does it this way, but this is what makes me different. And I think when it comes to that market, you got to be doing something different than everybody else. And you're like, well, hey, listen, that's great. They'll do these for you, but this is what I'm offering for you. And I love how you're trying to integrate it to everything though. You're not just trying to do the, oh, well, here, I'm going to take your money, do it, give you a little site, little fireworks show and then you're good. No, no, no. We're gonna intertwine this thing. We're gonna do a little more work with it, which I love. I think it's great though. So it's I think it's interesting though because a lot of people tend to want to get into these things, like you said. They're like, oh, I want to microdose all the time, and it's like, yeah, I don't think they're doing this for the right reasons. And everybody wants to do it because it's such a fad diet, and the GO1Ps what was it? Everybody wanted to take them, but like I take one though, but I take it for my diabetes because it helps with my diabetes. So I have a different reason I take it though. But I do agree with you though. If you're not really paying attention to what you're doing, you need to develop a healthier habit with your foods because if not, you're just going to fall right back to where you were, and it's going to put you in the back in the same situation. So I'm diabetic, so like I have to be very careful with certain things I'm having. Like I can have something here and there, but I really have to really check it because I'm checking my sugar numbers will go on and up all the time, and things like that as well. So, it's not a fun ride. So, but I get it though. I love it though. I think the way that your model is, it makes more sense to most people because you're not just like, okay, well, I'm going to take your money. Here you go. I'm going to show you the flash and the bang and then leave you there. You're like, no, no, we're going to work this. We're going to work this all the way and everything else, and things like that too. So anybody at home that's thinking about microdosing, what are some things you want them to know ahead of time?
Yeah, so I guess a couple big things. One is that microdosing is truly subperceptual if you do it. And I'm very remiss to use this word because I don't believe like right or wrong or good or bad. I think these are all moral judgments from God knows what is your operating system. Sometimes it is God, supposedly, right? And so I just don't get into right or wrong or good or bad. But if you're gonna do it right, meaning it's like something that you can feel. Dr. Fadiman, the guy who coined this term of microdosing, says transformation without intoxication. So if you're doing it right, it is subperceptual, meaning you're not going to feel it. You can pick your kids up from soccer, you can go to work, you can have an intelligent conversation. I microdosed before this conversation. I seem fine, right? Like it is. I mean, maybe some people are like, no, I hate her, and that's fine too. You're entitled to your opinion. Um, but yeah, if you're doing that and you're doing it like at a microdose, you're not inebriated or incapacitated anyway. So keep in mind dosage, right? People are like, oh, I want to take more. More is better. No, we need to cut that out in our society. More is not better. You just want enough to produce a positive effect in your brain without making you incapacitated, without making you unable to go about your daily life. And then two, you're having your intention. I mean, the two things that I like preach ad nauseum about, and people are probably tired if they've heard me before, is talking about integration and intention, my two eyes. You have to set an intention. You have to be so clear on like, what am I looking to get out of this? How do I want to feel at the end of the process? And use that as your anchor throughout your time.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense. So, I mean, you have an idea where you want to be with this thing, and I think that a lot of people need to keep that in mind, though. But I think it's great because, like, I always tell people, like, if talk therapy isn't for you, there's plenty of things like what you're doing and other people are doing that are more beneficial to you. It's like, hey, therapy isn't the end all be all. I mean, like that's the everybody thinks is like when you have mental health issues, that's the first place you know. There's hypnosis. There's tons of people that have been on this show that do 20,000 different things. They can all try these different things and things like that too. And I love microdosing because I am a big guy against pharma. Like, I don't like the mental health medications because I just hear nothing but crazy stories like lithium poisoning and all these
Mhm.
other things. I got a friend that does another show with me. She had taken like 19 different drugs, Julie. And let me tell you, it was the most insane thing you've ever heard in your life. She's like, yeah, I take like 19 medications. I'm like, 19? Hold up, wait a minute. 19? She's like, yeah. Then I had lithium poisoning and they didn't realize I had lithium poisoning. And it's just like, it's off putting because it's like, you're the medical doctor who's giving this to me and you don't know what the hell you're doing, but you're just kind of guessing at it, is what it almost seems like. And I get where we've come from to where we're now with mental health in general, like the different things you can do and all the different things you can get into. But it's like these medicines are it's just crazy though. Like I said, the side effects alone are just like, what the hell is going on with the world today? Like, I'm taking an antidepressant and I'm having suicidal thoughts. Isn't this why I'm taking this antidepressant to try to counteract some of these problems? And then it's like 10 minutes later, the next commercial comes on, and it's like I said, if you watch them, I'm seriously now, people are gonna watch this and go like watching videos now, they're gonna watch the commercials. Come on, and here's the first set, there's the second set, and it's just like, well, yeah. I'm like, no, no, no. So, what do you see the future for microdosing? Do you feel like it's going to be the new thing coming down the road that people are going to start leaving big pharma and heading towards your direction?
Means it's part of the future, at least like what kind of stuff what's come up recently makes me a little bit scared or sad or trepidatious because like I don't want to belabor the big pharma point, but big pharma, I mean, ultimately is creating a drug so that they're doing it in a way, they're compounding it in a way so that they can patent it so they can make money off of it. And when we look at a lot of prescriptions, they are like lifetime sentences, right? Doctors are taught how to put you on a medication. They're not taught how to bring you off. That's actually one of my specialties is helping people titrate off of unwanted medications because most plans, like if you go into a doctor and you say, hey, I don't want to take my Lexapro anymore, they'd be like, okay, well, here, you're going to do this for a month and then you'll be done. I've never seen a plan from a doctor that's been longer than a month. And also every single plan I've ever seen that was from a doctor was just like half it, right? So if you're taking 50, go down to 25 and then go down to, maybe 10 and then just stop. And it's like that's not sustainable for most people. That's not really how people get off and stay off. So and the issue that I have with the future of psilocybin is now big pharma is getting involved and they want to create a compound around psilocybin to like monetize on microdosing. So the companies that I work with are really grassroots. I mean, they're like, I don't want to say mom and pop shops, but they're the people I literally know, right? They have their own facilities. Like, here's a capsule. I work with 3 companies in particular. Like, it just is ground mushrooms. But, they grow their own mushrooms in temperature controlled like settings on different strains and they grind the dried mushrooms and package them into the microdosing capsules. But when big pharma gets involved, then they're looking to monetize on in some way. So they're not going to be using pure psilocybin. They're going to be creating a chemical compound that is just the psilocybin, right? So a way to think about it is like every mushroom is a mushroom, but not every mushroom has psilocybin in it, right? It is a chemical compound, but it's naturally occurring in certain mushrooms. But what Big Pharma is going to be doing is manufacturing in the lab just chemical psilocybin to put in a pill. It'll never have touched a mushroom, it'll never have come from a mushroom. And then that's what they'll be like selling to you. They're going to patent that design and then sell it to you way overpriced. And who knows what else they're going to put in it because that's exactly what happens in these other, compounds where they were just using like and I'm not like someone who thinks like, okay, if I have strep throat, that lavender's going to kill my strep throat. Like I'm going to go get a fucking amoxicillin or whatever.
Yeah, no, I get you.
I curse on here.
Yeah, you don't give that vibe. Yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah, I'll do it all day. You kidding me? Shit, I've said worse things.
Whoops. Okay. So yeah, I'm like, I'm going to take an antibiotic if I need an
Yeah,
antibiotic, but
yeah.
there are several natural compounds where we don't need these pills. We could just take the compound directly, whether it be turmeric or whatever. And so when big pharma gets involved, I just worry that it's going to become a money maker and it's going to lose. I mean, it's going to become one of those things that has a bunch of side effects and it's kind of going to lose its heart. Like to me, I do have a bit of a reverence for like the mushroom itself
Yeah.
and I have a deep respect for this work and I just feel like it's going to become commercialized, which is a little bit of a worry. But I like that people are being more open-minded about it now. They're not like, mushrooms are the devil. It's like, actually, mushrooms are a lot closer to God than your alcohol is.
They're thinking like, they're just gonna get high as a kite with them. Like, yeah, I think you're thinking the wrong mushrooms, man. I think we're getting a little too wild with it. But I get it though. Big pharma is gonna step in, but it's like, people like yourselves are keeping it natural to the root. Think may win it out though at the end because I think a holistic healing is coming through a lot stronger than a lot of the Western medicine things that are going on now. A lot more people are doing breath work. They're doing energy healing. All these different other kind of things other than just like going to the doctor because that's their biggest fear. So they're gonna go to a therapist and they're going to prescribe them something crazy that they're going to have to take. And then, you know what I mean? Because they hear all those stories of people that are having problems. Now, like, I could see for some extreme situations, certain people need the medication depending on what their condition is. Okay, cool, got it. But not all of us need it like that. And if you ever feel like you don't want to do something, just advocate for yourself. And I think that's a lot of people are afraid of just advocate for themselves and say, no, I don't want to take that. There's got to be something else out there. And then instead of looking at all these other routes, but that's why I invite different people like yourselves on the show so we can expand people's minds. Like, hey, listen, if you don't like this, Julie offers this kind of thing. Or, other people that have been on the show, they have all these different options you can go check out and see, and a lot of times, it's a lot of cool. It's really cool to see people's responses to it because they're like, "Well, I never even know that existed." Because I've shared with everybody. I'm like, "Hey, listen, have you checked this out before?" And I'll plug whatever company it is. Like, "Hey, I met a person named Julie. She's got this company. This is what she does, mushrooms and things like this. Maybe microdosing is the way you go for what you're doing." Because you always hear horror stories. People like, "Well, I don't like the side effects, and I don't like this, and I don't like that." Well, have you ever thought about microdosing? I know a few people you can talk to. And I always share out your guys' information. Everybody that comes on this show, I always pass off information to the people to come check out the stuff because I'm like, why not help other people? Like I run into so many people every day just going through the internet and things like that. I'm always around doing something, and I always run into people that are always mentioning the same thing. They're like, I don't like the side effects of these, or I don't like taking this because of that. A lot of people have a lot of horror stories. And I'm like, so like it's great to know that there's people like yourself out there doing these things or keeping it so natural to just the actual mushroom and not a bunch of other sort of crap that's in there. So what I'm telling people is I'd be like, hey, listen, Julie's got this company, 100% the mushrooms that you're taking. She showed it to me. We talked about it. These are the kind of things. So I share all the links and all the information, all your socials to people, things like that too, just so people know where to find you and things like that too, because it's great. Because I, at first, didn't know a lot about holistic medicine. And then I started really checking into it. And I try a lot of the techniques and things I've given. Like we did breathwork. You mentioned we did breathwork on the show a couple times. We had another guy that came on, Tim and I out of Australia. We did it. We were doing some pretty interesting things, but it's like it's great for my anxiety because like if I start going off the rails a little bit, I feel like I'm going to have a freak out session. I'll literally where I work, there's a cooler. So I go in there, take deep breaths in the cold air, do my breath work in there. I use other techniques too. Like sometimes I'll start talking to myself, which to people looks like I'm talking to myself, but really what I'm doing is I'm getting the thoughts out of my head because, like if I don't, my anxiety will take it and just run off. So like I'll start saying things to myself out loud to see how dumb it sounds. Or like I'll text my girlfriend, Danny, I'll tell her about it. And she's like, hey, I'm going to tell you something. I don't need you to judge me. And she laughs every time, but she knows I'm about to say some wild shit. Or I do another thing where I call it downloading my brain. I'll just literally just send an endless stream of message to someone and then just see an endless wording. There's just random shit in my head. Like, okay, I'm fine. All right, I'm good now. See you later. Click. And then they're just like, okay. But I've learned so many different things doing the show, things like I journal, I read books, like I said, I do all these things and I try all these things and then I tell other people about it too, and stuff like that too. Microdosing I haven't got really into yet. But maybe down the road, maybe I will. See if my anxiety gets that bad, I'll give it a shot, see what happens. I at least I know who to hit up if I know. Like, hey, listen, I can hit you up and like, hey, listen, I'm interested in trying. At least I know I'm getting 100% the mushroom. I'm not getting all the extra crap that you could just slide in there like everybody else does, and things like that too.
Well, thank you so much. It's win-win is one of my top like values. Coming back to this idea of values and like my core ones.
Mm-hmm.
So really being in that reciprocity, I think that's what makes the world go round. I don't feel like it really makes me sad and to see like the state of the world because I feel like everyone's out for themselves and thinking like, oh, I have to push someone else down to get ahead. But I really believe that no one wins unless we're all winning and we're all in collaboration.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's the same thing with podcasting too. I think a lot of people are afraid that, oh, what am I going to offer to the world? You got to offer your voice to the world. There's so many different podcasts. There's only 24 hours in a day. You can only listen to so many podcasts at a time. And it's like, I do this one, I do another project. I may have a third project and I just enjoy what I do, and things like that. I don't let other people stop me. And if people ask me all the time, like, do you sleep? The answer is no, never sleep. I don't ever sleep, but it's okay. Eventually one day I'll finally figure that whole method out. But, it's part of a process. But Julie, we're at the fun part of the show where I ask you a question. She's like, oh, okay. We're at the fun part of the show where I ask two questions. Okay. So the first question I ask is actually one I got from a friend of mine who runs a podcast called The Shit That Goes On in Our Heads.
Okay.
Her question to me and my question to you is that if your mental health had a song, what would you say that song would be?
Okay.
Everyone loves this question.
This is a song that I don't like. It's not even on my like Spotify, like my liked songs, but I think it's like by Jessie J. It goes, singing in the shower.
Yes,
That's, I think, what it would be.
That's great. It's always a fun answer to this question because when you ask people, you get the most random answers to them. I think we have Michael Jackson's Beat It came up, Rage Against the Machine came up, a bunch of random songs. So like when I ask people that question, they're all like the same. They're like, oh yeah, this is a great question. And like one person's like, can I break it down in multiple ways? I'm like, yeah, because like my anxiety song was Artificial Suicide by Bad Omens. I know everybody gets thrown off by the title, but it's the fact is that constant like strumming of the noise of the guitar. It's like that's how it feels. When my anxiety's full blown, dude, I'm going like this. My heart's racing. So my depression songs were Leave the Light On, Talk Away the Dark by Papa Roach, and then Different Kind of Pain by Cold were the two songs I chose. And it's just because I resonate with music in general. I love music. I listen to it all day. I'm always listening to music. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter the genre. I'm always listening to something because I always feel like it's a really great thing. Because like when you're feeling that bad day, there's always that one mental song you go to, or where, I have different playlists I put out all the time for people. And, I just give them an experience of what it's like to go through my head some days, and sometimes it's all over the place. Like we're going MGK to Metallica to Slipknot to Marilyn Manson sometimes, and we're literally going everywhere. There's Backstreet Boys on some of them too, just because I like to throw people off a bit and they just start looking at me weird, like, what the hell am I listening to? Just listen, it'll make sense. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, just go with it. So Julie, the second question, and the most important reason why I started this podcast is if you could break the stigma about mental health. Now, when I say this, I say anything that you hear people say every day that drives you absolutely crazy. What would you say that one thing would be?
Ooh, I don't like this idea that you're okay. I don't like the idea that you're broken or you need to be fixed. And
Hmm.
I have this weird analogy. So I feel like when everyone's born, we're all brand new refrigerators.
Hmm.
Just roll with me here. So your
Okay.
refrigerator, you get a new refrigerator, you install it in your kitchen, and it's beautiful and blah 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 blah. And then I'm a short person, and so I don't clean the top of my refrigerator a lot. And so then you do this thing, and you oh wow, that's a lot of dust, right? And so you clean off the top of your refrigerator, and then it's brand new again, right? There's nothing
Hmm.
wrong with it. It was just a little dusty, and that's how I feel about people and about life. I feel like everyone's born a brand new refrigerator, and nothing they don't get broken, nothing happens to them, but life is dusty, and life gives you a lot of dust and a lot of muck and some ew stuff when you touch it, right? But you're not bad. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. It's that life is ew. And something that's just the nature of our existence, right? We're all perfect, I think, when we're born, and then stuff happens to us. Some is trauma big T, some is trauma little t, but we all have the opportunity to just dust ourselves off. So I never want us to think about it's not about fixing, it's always about removing what isn't even yours to begin with.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really great point too, and I think of the same way too, because I was abandoned as 10. So like I used to use it as like my big anchor point, but now it's more of a superpower because had I not had that happen, I wouldn't be doing this show now because my ability to make people feel welcome is always a big thing. And me and Dr. Tim Blake talked about this for a little bit. He had mentioned that like when I was talking to him, he started asking me these weird questions and it was really random. He said, "Hey, listen, do you ever feel like you want to make everybody feel included?" I said, "Yeah." And then I forgot what the other question he asked me, but he said, "Okay, so were you abandoned when you were younger?" And I didn't even tell him at this point in the interview. He had no idea, but he was like, "Listen," it was like, "Yeah." So, like I've been turning it into a superpower as well, because at this point, if had that not happened, this show may not even exist because the need to want to make to fill that space for people to have a safe space to come in here and talk about things. And we've had some wild stories this season. Like there's some wild shit that's coming up that if anybody at this point is only listening to this episode, trust me, you want to go back and listen to some of these other ones. It is going to be a wild ride this season for sure. We are on season 3 of the show now. It's been great so far. In the first 2 seasons, I've done about 300 interviews, and I've heard a lot of things between those 300 interviews of just those random stories. But I think that's a really good point, though, is that just you gotta just kind of dust you off and everything else, because I think people beat themselves up too much and say, "Well, I'm broken, so I can't be fixed," and it's that negative mentality that I don't get why it's, and again, it's mostly probably the internet. Because like when people go to the internet and start sharing their stories, like the hateful comments that come out and things like that, it just beats you down because it's like you're just like looking for some positivity, and then all these people and these evil trolls are out there just start saying the most wild things ever. Like, go to the hospital, you need to go see a therapist, you need to go check yourself in, and it's like, well, you know what? Most of these people have already done that actually. So hey, that's cool. I'm glad you just want to keep highlighting about the trauma of things that we're talking about when they're trying to express something to you or share their story with you. So that's a great thing about the show is that I offer that space to people. So thank you so much for coming to hang out with us today. It was great meeting you. I already knew this was going to be a conversation. Like I said, I already told you beforehand because Melissa had you on. And obviously, Melissa picks pretty good guests too. So me and her have been good friends. We had a great time the first time me and her met and all that stuff. So Julie, do you want to let everybody know where they can find you? Like, what is the best place for them to find you?
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was such an awesome conversation. Really, the best place to find me is on Instagram at Julie Sabone, JulieCyvonne. No spaces, no dots, whatever. I answer all of my own DMs, and that's where I'm at every single day. And if you're curious about microdosing, because we did mention, some people microdosing just isn't for them.
Hmm.
A great way to find out is you can DM me the word journey, and a quiz will send right to you. It takes 2 minutes. It's 11 questions, and it gives you a great idea if this is definitely not for you. It's worth more of a conversation, or it's something that is like a great idea for you and your next step. Because I just like to save people's times. I would hate for someone to be like, oh, I really want to do this. And then it turns out it's just like, for whatever reason, not good for them.
Yeah, because you did say there was a few things that there's two types of people that shouldn't be microdosing, right?
Yeah, there are a few different, well, first of all, like not comorbidity. That's
Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, that makes sense. So, well, thank you so much, Julie, for coming to hang out with us today. I really appreciate it. If you ever come up with anything new you want to talk about, anything new things you're coming up, you're more than welcome to come back and visit us. I'd love for you to come back and hang out with me. I had a great time, enjoyed having you here. Uh, Before I sign off, do you have any last words you'd like to say to anybody? Any words of encouragement you want to tell everybody out there? I love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Julie. Guys, with that being said, we're going to wrap up this episode of Pete vs. Anxiety. You guys know where to find me on Pete vs. Anxiety on Spotify, all the way down Panto Radio. I'm on X all the way down to TikTok, and as always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you can do can save some life, or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete vs. Anxiety, signing off saying, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental health?